She doesn't care about Taylor. 15 minutes says otherwise. That is the contradiction at the center of Jemma Heigis's video. Taylor Swift, Queen of Cringe. She says she does not love Taylor, does not hate Taylor, and does not really care. Then she analyzes Taylor's lyrics, image, sexuality, relationship, friendships, audience, and entire career. That is a remarkable amount of homework for indifference. To be clear, everyone can have an opinion. Taylor is one of the biggest artists alive, and criticism comes with that. This is not an argument that every Taylor lyric is brilliant, or every negative review is hate. Jemma makes a few fair musical criticisms. The problem is how often the review abandons the music and starts treating personal disgust as evidence.
As a showgirl does. I'm not really a Taylor Swift fan. I don't love her. I don't hate her either, but people's reactions to this new album have been making the rounds on social media, and some of it is pretty hilarious.
I am a dog.
I Don't Care is doing heroic work there. She assembled clips, collected memes, studied individual lyrics, revisited older songs, discussed Taylor's relationship, mocked her audience, and produced a 15-minute declaration of emotional neutrality. Most people hear an artist they dislike and move on. I dislike plenty of things. I do not build a research folder, inspect the creator's friendships, and produce a miniature documentary explaining how little I care. I listen to something else. Taylor's loudest critics rarely seem satisfied with not enjoying her. They watch the interviews, know the relationships, track the headlines, memorize the embarrassing lyrics, monitor the fans, and then insist Taylor is culturally empty. At some point, you know more about her than the people who openly admit they like her. That does not prove a secret personal obsession. Commentary creators cover famous people because famous names attract attention, but let's be honest about the transaction. A careful review called "This album has weak lyrics" is criticism. A video called "Taylor Swift, Queen of Cringe" is also selling Taylor as a spectacle. The humiliation is part of the entertainment. Taylor's name earns the click. Her face gets the thumbnail. Her fans and critics fill the comments. The creator benefits from Taylor's relevance while presenting herself as above it. Taylor is supposedly bland, boring, artificial, embarrassing, and empty, yet somehow interesting enough to sustain 15 minutes of content. If she is truly flavorless, why does everyone need us to know how much they hate the flavor? Nobody records a 15-minute rant about plain toast unless plain toast is paying the bills, and yes, I'm making a video about this creator. The difference is that I'm responding to a specific public argument, playing her actual words, and acknowledging her reasonable points. I'm not studying her private life while claiming she means nothing to me. I'm criticizing the logic, not declaring that everybody who enjoys her work eats garbage.
It's so forced. I don't like it when either of them do it. It just gives me the ick. Maybe it's because Taylor Swift is the same person who sings "Shake It Off" and is the epitome of bland, boring mayonnaise music where the only reason that you can remember the melody so clearly is because it stays on the tonic the entire time. Are we out of the woods yet? Are we out of the woods? And I'll write your name. I was riding shotgun with my hair undone in the backseat of his car. We were both young when I first saw you. I got smarter, I got harder in the nick of time. So when I hear her talking about getting wet, it almost...
Pause. Taylor talking about sex feels fake because she sang "Shake It Off"? That is the argument? Apparently, if you ever made family-friendly music, you are permanently banned from being sexual. Your application has been denied. Please report to the Fearless era and remain 19 years old indefinitely. You can dislike the song, you can think the lyrics are awkward, too direct, badly written, or mismatched with the production. Those are opinions about the music. But I remember you as wholesome, so your sexuality makes me uncomfortable. Is not music criticism. That is an inability to let a grown woman grow up. Notice the switch. Jemma begins with a potentially reasonable point. Hypersexual lyrics are popular, and she does not enjoy the trend. Fair enough. Then the criticism becomes that Taylor doing it is especially uncomfortable because Taylor makes what she calls mayonnaise music, saying "Shake It Off" and reminds her of Miss Frizzle. None of that explains why the writing fails. It explains that Jemma does not personally find Taylor sexy. Okay, was that the assignment? Taylor was not in the studio waiting for one YouTuber to confirm that she was sufficiently seductive. A woman's sexual expression does not become fraudulent because a stranger does not feel personally seduced by it. The Miss Frizzle comparison is revealing because it frames Taylor as inherently sexless, childish, or embarrassing, and then treats that framing as Taylor's fault. Taylor is a grown woman writing about an adult relationship. You do not have to find it hot, you do not even have to find it good, but this violates the personality I assigned to you is not proof that she is cosplaying. It is proof that you assigned her a personality.
The problem is Taylor Swift is the opposite of dangerous. She is the epitome of family-friendly, marketable, cookie-cutter pop. So this new contrast is unfortunately pure cringe. The whole thing feels like satire. That's how bad.
First, dangerous is not a requirement for making adult music. Why are we acting like Taylor needs a criminal record before she can mention sex? She is not claiming to run a cartel. She wrote a suggestive song about her partner. These are not the same thing. Calling her entire catalog family-friendly, marketable cookie-cutter pop is not analysis. It is an aesthetic label being used as proof. Taylor has written country synth pop, folk-influenced records, fictional narratives, murder plots, infidelity, grief, alcoholism, revenge, emotional abuse, and songs about wanting to interrupt somebody's wedding. But because Shake It Off exists, apparently everything else has been deleted. This argument treats the most commercially accessible moment of Taylor's career as her permanent identity. Whenever she writes outside that identity, she is accused of pretending. So what is she allowed to do? If she writes something accessible, she is bland. If she writes something provocative, she is forcing it. If she changes, she is cosplaying. If she does not change, she has no range. That is not a standard an artist can meet. It is a conclusion looking for an excuse.
Recycled, flavorless slop. You're bound to end up with songs that blur together and sound the same. I'm not mad about it. It is what it is. The people like garbage. What can I say? They eat it up.
I gobbled it up.
You gotta give the people what they like. Anyways, this song is called...
And there it is. When your music analysis ends with, "The audience likes garbage," you have stopped analyzing the music. You have replaced an argument with contempt. Millions of listeners are not proof that an album is good. Popularity and quality are different things. But millions of listeners are also not one brainless organism consuming whatever Taylor places in front of them. People can enjoy simple melodies. They can enjoy familiarity. They may care about storytelling, personality, emotional connection, production, or how a song fits inside the larger catalog. You can disagree with their judgment without pretending they have no judgment. Calling the music recycled, flavorless slop and its listeners garbage eaters may feel satisfying, but it explains nothing. It is the critical equivalent of knocking over the board and announcing that you won chess. And notice how quickly criticism of Taylor turns into contempt for the women listening to her. Earlier, the video also uses a sexual stereotype to describe Taylor's audience. The music is not merely bad. The women enjoying it must be shallow, embarrassing, or sexually ridiculous too. That is not a deeper argument. It is just a larger insult.
Anyways, congrats to anyone who is just now seeing Taylor Swift for what she really is. Pure millennial cringe core. But really, she's always been like that. You're just seeing it recognized for the first time. Remember, this is the same person who is supposed to be a lyrical genius but has 7 songs rhyming car with bar. And don't even get me...
This is another convenient argument because it can never be proven wrong. If Taylor succeeds, people have not recognized the cringe yet. If she releases something you dislike, everybody is finally seeing the truth. If people still enjoy it, they like garbage. Every possible outcome confirms the original belief. That is not analysis. That is a closed loop. Reducing Taylor's entire career to millennial cringe because you dislike several lyrics on one album is absurd. You do not have to call her a lyrical genius. But if you want to dismiss her songwriting, engage with the strongest examples, not only the lines that are easiest to mock. Talk about the narrative construction of Champagne Problems. Talk about the emotional reversal in Happiness. Talk about how Cardigan, August, and Betty change when heard together. Talk about Would've, Could've, Should've, Ivy, My Tears Ricochet, or Nothing New. You can still dislike those songs. At least then you would be criticizing the body of work instead of pretending it consists entirely of Shake It Off and a handful of embarrassing rhymes. If your claim is that an artist has always been shallow, the difficult part is accounting for the work that challenges your claim. You cannot simply pretend that work does not exist.
Musically, I would say that some of the songs are pretty catchy. I mean, how can it not be catchy when half of it is literally just walking down the major scale? But I have to give it to her. Her music isn't terrible. It's catchy and well produced, and she's not a bad singer, and there's a reason why so many people love her and idolize her and blah.
Here's the fair point. Taylor's music can be catchy and well produced while containing lyrics that do not work for you. That is coherent. Jemma could have made a sharp review about tonal inconsistency, simple composition, awkward sexual writing, or Taylor's relationship with her public image. There is an interesting discussion hiding here. Instead, the video repeatedly falls back on Taylor is bland, Taylor is cringe, Taylor is not sexy, and her listeners consume garbage. That makes the analysis weaker, not stronger. The argument stops asking whether a song successfully communicates sexuality. It starts judging whether Taylor is the kind of woman who should express sexuality at all. Apparently she is not, because she once sang Love Story, wears cardigans, and has insufficiently dangerous vibes. You do not have to like the album, and you do not have to defend every lyric. There is a massive difference between saying, this lyric feels forced because the imagery clashes with the tone, and saying, Taylor discussing sex reminds me of a children's TV character trying to be hot. The first statement analyzes the song. The second reveals the critic's preconception, then punishes Taylor for not obeying it. That is the central problem. The video wants the authority of music criticism while relying on the logic of a roast. It treats personal disgust as artistic evidence, Taylor's old image as a permanent restriction, and contempt for her audience as a substitute for understanding them. The irony is that Taylor's critics complain that she occupies too much cultural space, then dedicate their own cultural space to Taylor. They watch her, clip her, tag her, discuss her, recommend her name to the algorithm, and then ask why she is everywhere. She is everywhere partly because even the people who cannot stand her refuse to stop talking about her. You cannot spend 15 minutes feeding the machine and then act confused that the machine keeps running. Taylor does not need everyone to like her. Her loudest critics insist she has nothing interesting to say, then make sure her name never leaves the conversation. Criticize Taylor's music all you want, but if the argument only works by freezing a grown woman inside the family-friendly image you formed years ago, Taylor's supposed inauthenticity is not the problem. Your inability to imagine her as anything else is. Taste is subjective. Weak reasoning is still weak reasoning.